Welcome to the Velvet Door. As you guys know, it's ShanJor, and we're going to go beyond the door. We're going to think outside the box, outside the matrix, outside the norm. And we're just going to analyze our reality and where we are today. Today's topic is going to be about the Black Starline. And I noticed that this is now becoming more of a theme to talk about. This was definitely a movement that was, as we know, was started by Marcus Garvey in the 1900s. It was not a very successful movement, but we are starting to see a lot of the Pan African, the pro African movements coming back to fruition. So let's observe what we're looking at and see where we're going to go from here. Let's look at let's look at the Black Star Line Festival real quick. Let's look at this real quick. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Let's go back. So we have the Black Star Line Festival, and it presents a conversation with Chance the Rapper and special guests. So this is supposed to be an event where there's no phones allowed, no communication, and I'm willing to bet that this is going to be an event where anyone that attends this event are supposed to go back out to America and recruit on this pro African wave. Okay. A lot of what they're doing and what they plan to do in West Africa has always been on a very hush hush type of tip. On the outside, yes, it's marketed Africa, 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 Black Panther, Wakanda, Wakanda, Black Panther. But on the inside of the operations to get people to participate is where we start to see the silence happens. When the United States that was set up, the foundational, as they say, Black people, the American Indians, the Moors, even some of your Sephardic, the Jays, a lot of these people were also Black, identified as Black later in history. They were darker skinned, complected people that established this United States of America. If you look at the history of New England, and as of late, I've been studying heavily into New England history because it's the key of understanding what does true colonial United States look like? What does it feel like? What is it really? And a lot of these descendants of old colonial America, whether they be Black today, still exist. In New England, there was Black rulership. I'm going to prove it. There were people that came from other places, came on indigenous land, and set up a rulership of their own kind. And they wanted to speak the narrative and push the narrative on other indigenous people that were here. But I'm going to also show in this series how the indigenous people were all for it too. Not all, because I can't speak for all, but I can say there was a greater agenda because of the promises of wealth and the promises of what we now say opportunities. But we're turning the ties to Africa, right? You can see the man here. He's kind of like showing you here, come to Africa. You see the trees, palm trees. You see the nice Black Star Line ship, which is a mimic and a mocking of the White Star Line. And we're getting to what is the White Star Line as well. You can see this here arch right here. So you see, like if you actually look at this map too, it's a very interesting map. You see how Africa is shaped. It's not even shaped like the way how we see it in commercialized Africa, where it has more of an indent right here, then it comes straight down like that. You know, you see it is very looks very wide. Looks like a very different setup of what the African map looks like. And of course, that would be Australia, Asia, Europe, right? All right. So this is happening at the University of Ghana. Phone free event, Black Star Line Fest. So let's tap into that real quick, and I'm gonna get into some of these celebrities that's along this. So what is the Black Star Line? And I'm only going to use Wikipedia because, like I said, this is a quick stream. This is not a build. This is not a lecture. This is a quick stream. So I just want to give y'all a brief understanding of what it is. Okay. All right. It says the shipping line was created to facilitate transportation of goods, eventually African Americans throughout the African global economy. It is derived its name from the White Star Line, a line whose success Garvey felt he could duplicate. And we're going to open that up in a new tab as well. It says the Black Star Line became a key part of Garvey's contribution to Back to Africa movement, but it mostly unsuccessful, partially due to infiltration by federal agents. Now, let me just say this. That's cap. That's cap. Because Garvey himself was the federal agent. Okay. A lot of people were not also agreeing with what Garvey was saying. There were a lot of people in Jamaica that did not participate in Garvey's teachings before he even came to the United States, right? But when Garvey was trying to put down the Back to Africa movement, and let's make it very clear, Garvey is a Knights Templar. Let's talk about it. You know what? Let's just look this up. Let's look this up. Wait. Negro in a hat. Garvey. Since I don't want to just be look like I'm saying stuff. We're gonna look at this hat. This little hat right here. Let me see if I can find a better image of that. We're doing this raw and live, y'all. So, y'all gonna roll with me. See, all these is books. It's always a damn book. There's always a damn doctrine to sell. Let's look at this hat. Look at this hat. Let's see. All right, here we go. Here's a nice little hat right here. What kind of hat is this? And it might be petty to even pinpoint and pick out his hat. But what kind of hat is this? What is it showing? What is it? What is he trying to exude with this type of persona? Marcus Garvey journey began in Central America. I bet. I bet. And if you know anything about the Garvey family were not enslaved in Jamaica. They were not enslaved. Okay? So he was not speaking from a perspective as a free slave that's trying to save other slaves, right? That was definitely not his rhetoric. So what exactly is Garvey trying to show? What is he trying to show? Let's see if I can pull this up real quick as well. All right, let's look at something real quick. Let's see if we can connect some dots. Some nice hat. All right. I want to make sure I get a good source on a hat because I don't want, like I said, I don't want to just pick something up. Let's talk about what we're looking at. Just a quick search. Like I said, we're just doing a quick little build on some observations. Nice Templar hat. It's cute, right? You guys like that? Very nice, huh? Look at that. Antique Masonic nice Templar hat with ostrich feather. Looks very cute, right? Very nice. Very nice. Elongated style hat. Would you wear it? Would you wear it? That's the question. Did your ancestors wear it? That's another question, right? Let's look at these hats. It's funny how when I typed in Knights Templar hat, Garvey, they know exactly what's going on. It's a nice Templar. We're not dumb. We know what we're looking at. Right? So let's get back into it, though. Let's get back into it. When we're dealing with Knights Templar, we're dealing with the Masonic orders. We're dealing with the United States was built on Freemasonry understandings. Most of your forefathers as well were Freemasons in this country. too. Okay? So you're not that far removed from what Garvey was doing. The question is, what deal did these families take? That's the question. All right, so the White Star Line, it was a British shipping company founded out the remains of a defunct package company. It gradually rose up to become one of the most prominent shipping lines in the world, providing passenger and cargo services between the British Empire and the United States. While many other shipping lines focus primarily on speed, White Star branded their services by focus on providing comfortable passage for both upper class travelers and immigrants. Ah. So you can kind of see how at this time frame they're trying to build this relationship between America and West Africa. And it was not for the poor class of blacks, definitely not. It was mainly for people that were of means or people that were free and that wanted to participate in new adventures, new opportunities, new financial goals inside of the country, a continent of Africa, right? So is it wrong? I wouldn't say it's wrong to want to find business relationships overseas. I would say it's wrong when you're doing it on the behest of hiding history, right? So let's get into another quick little history fact. I'm going to go over to my Twitter page because I do a lot of my history threads on Twitter whenever I have time. Let's look into one of the founding fathers of the United States was black, and I bet you never heard of the man James Forten, right? Let's talk about James Forten and why was he so important to what was going on. I'm going to quickly read. It says, born free in Pennsylvania, Forten worked hard since his youth. At the age of 14, during the Revolutionary War, Forten served on the privateer Royal Louis. He later signed up on a merchant ship which sailed to England, where he worked for over a year. And you're going to always kind of see this theme of black people having a close relationship with England. Okay. They're casually traveling to England. They're making money in England. They're publishing books in England, i.e., Phyllis Whitley. They're doing a lot of great things in England. And it makes you wonder at that time period what was really going on in England. Well, you have to remember at this time period, if you know the history of Queen Charlotte, which was supposedly the last black queen, right? Remember, she didn't leave her throne, I believe, until 1818. Okay, around 1818. So if people are traveling to England, black people are traveling to England in the 1800s, early 1800s, late 1700s, they are traveling to another so called black rulership. It's not what you look like today. When you see England today, that was not what England looked like 200 years ago. Okay, so let's go around. It says by 1810, he built one of the most successful sail lofts in Philadelphia. He created conditions he worked for in society, employing both black and white workers. He will later be coined the first abolitionist. He also rejected the ideas of the American Colonization Society. Now, why is that key? The American Colonization Society is why we had movements like go to Libya or Liberia, I'm sorry, right? Well, you probably can say Libya now because that is going to be the next stop. Thanks to Obama and the rest of them that bombed damn Libya, turned it into ashes. Yeah, that's definitely going to be the next stop. But to Liberia, that was a great movement to Liberia, to Sierra Leone, to other parts of the Caribbean, to parts of, let's say, Canada. If you guys know about the Free or the Book of Negroes, the Book of Negroes was documenting the loyalists who actually fled in mass exodus numbers out of the 13 colonies in the 1800s. Let's get into that though. All right, let's get into that. It says Fulton fought for blacks who immigrated to Pennsylvania to have the same rights as whites. In 1801, he was among the signers of petition to the United States Congress calling for the abolition of the slave trade and modification of the fugitive slave law in 1850. This is 1801. Big shot caller. Big shot caller. He believed respectable blacks had a place in colonies. Unfortunately, his efforts were not successful, and the transporting of blacks out of the colonies began. From Canada, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Haiti, free blacks were shipped out to resettle. Though he was good friends with Paul Cuffey is another person who was definitely for back to Africa and using his merchant ships to ship people out, who sailed 30 plus blacks to Africa. He was against colonization. He encouraged blacks to claim the US as their own and to fight for their civil rights. Blacks were in the US for many generations, so it's their land too. All right. So people like James Forten understood what the American Colonization Society, aka modern day Pan Africanism, was really all about. It was about colonizing. It was putting a definite black face, permanent black face on colonization from the Americas. He understood that, right? And this ties back into later on, later in the 1800s, when American Colonization Society actually starts to become more successful as blacks start to leave the 13 colonies. Then you start seeing people like Marcus Garvey pop up. And he's really trying to ramp this thing up to get blacks out of here. Well, people would say, well, that's a good thing. Why do black people want to be in America? Well, that's a bad thing because there are black people that are from America. There are people that are indigenous that are labeled and classified as black today and yesterday. Negro, colored. A lot of our family members were labeled colored before they became a Negro. They were labeled mulatto, and then later they were transferred to be labeled Negro, which kind of issues you right on into being black, whether you like it or not, right? So you create the conditions to where people start to feel like, well, I don't have anything else to choose. I guess I got to choose black because I ain't colored no more. Color is a broad term. This is why people have such a hard time with saying POC or people of color, because it's such a broad term. It can deal with anybody. Everybody got a little color. So what is a POC, right? So color for a lot of people that had indigenous roots, but they will also can pass inside other foreign communities that were settling into the United States, you get caught up in the swindle, right? And then it makes it even worse when you start procreating, you start having kids with these foreigners that are coming here. Now you're really in this swindle by blood, legally binded in that swindle. All right, so that's a little bit of that. So James Forten, put that in your dictionaries that you guys need to actually put it in there. Learn something new. Put it in your little historical dictionaries of people that you need to have on file of people that were not for blacks leaving America. There were always black people that fought against trying to remove blacks that were establishing civilizations here. But to go to Africa and to do it again was only a part of the greater plan. Because in America, we talk about this great reset, but don't think that the great reset is not global. The great reset is global, baby. Africa will have its great reset, and you will be its reset. But let's continue. Let's look at some of the celebrities that are pushing this besides Chance the Rapper. Of course, we have let's see what we got our guy here. Meek Mill. Meek Mill is Ghanaian and Iran. Okay, look at this guy. His ancestors, look at his DNA. It takes him all the way here. And I'm gonna tell you, you remember he's from Philadelphia, right? You got a lot of what we would consider the black nobles of Europe coming into Philadelphia, coming into Maryland, Virginia, A lot of these people that were so-called black coming out of Europe definitely were coming into places like Philly. Philly has a very rich, and it has a very rich ancient colonial history. Okay. I'm even curious to dig deeper into his background. We're going to have to probably put some black celebrities on this on the stepping stool when it comes to this genealogy, not just a DNA test, right? Last name Williams. Yeah, we definitely got to tap into his real story. But his DNA story is that he's 18% Ivory Coast, he's Ghanaian, 18% Nigeria, 14% Cameroon, Congo, West Bantu peoples, 8% from Mali, 5% from Senegal. Yeah, he's all these percentage of new made up concepts. Good job. Um, I know recently also, let me go ahead and get this video ready. He was out there in Africa, pretty much saying, life in America was just so hard for him. He was doing a lot of stuff he wasn't supposed to be doing. Let's see if I can get this to play. I don't know if you guys can hear it. I hope you can hear it. Let's see if we can get this to play. Hold on, let me make sure my sound is on so you guys can I just want to make sure you guys can hear this. All right, let's see.
In prison because of not committing crime, wrongly accused. So when I got locked up, my whole city, I would say country, half of my country stood up for me. I grew up in a single parent household, just me and my mom, probably grandmom. You get support, two uncles. We never really had support. So when you get these type of people supporting you, when I got out of prison, I wanted to make sure I give that back to the people. And, we started a foundation where we raised $100 million within like 2 years. Very powerful people from all races, Asian, black, white, Spanish. We all in a room like this, and we take our power and influence and try to change laws from state to state. And I always express to them, I make music. They met me making music. They use me as a trampoline, as the door to be able to access kids from 8 to 50 years old. I tell them that I'm not a politician. God put me in this position, and I'm gonna remain it and hold it as an open door. I use rap as my trampoline to be able to communicate and have the reach that I have. That's what got me in this room with the president right here making music.
Okay. So let me just say this real quick. I do think it's a little embarrassing that when our Black American people are going over to Ghana, Africa, period, their only success story is rap music. So it's a little embarrassing, but see, this is what fits the status quo of a Negro in America. Okay? Most Black people in America are not rappers. Most Black people in America actually do have some sort of ownership in something, small or big. Most Black people in this country are in the middle class. It may not always be the upper middle class, but they're in the middle class. Most Black people are about something, they're not just rappers. But you got to have this story. You always got to have the story of I grew up without my dad. I didn't have this. I ain't had this going on for myself. And I don't have, I ain't never had nothing. I had, like that. That's the story of Black America. And that's what they have been trying to market for so long. They don't want to hear the Black kid from the middle class talking and talking about how he was able to rise up. And he didn't have to rise too far up because he already had a established system going on. That's America for you. This is what sells. This is your image when you go to Africa. That you guys were just rappers and drug dealers and you did all this stuff and now you want to come to Africa to clean your act up. Let's continue.
So I use that as my door to keep activating things, and making it to Ghana is a dream of mine, to always be able to come back here and do anything. I don't know what to tell you that you would like or love, but anything that builds, anything that connects the bridge to the young Black people where we come from, because we don't know about this. American officials don't really talk to us like that, and just being invited here, I was willing to stay here all day just to meet some Black strong people that really come from where we come from. So
you hear the rhetoric? You hear your rhetoric. This is your global image. You didn't come from nothing. You ain't never had nothing. You don't have a history. You don't know nobody. You ain't never gonna do nothing in life unless I meet other people that can empower me. When I'm pretty sure I can tap into his family history and figure out who he came from and how they probably were really running shit at some point. But you gotta ask yourself what happened. But it's on your family to keep that story going. It's not on the white man to tell you who you are in this country. It's not on the Asian man, it's not on the Arab man. It's on your family to keep these stories going. And I do find that there are Black Americans, the ones that don't have this type of story all the time, where they do have a family Bible. They do have family unions. They're very proud of what they do know about their family. But this is your global face right here. This is it. This is it. This is it. No haircut, shaggy looking a little bit. You got a plain white tee. You can't even put on a decent outfit. Two chains because you got to prove the image that you're just a slave in America with chains around your neck still, even if they glitter. This is your public image. These are the people that speak for you. And this is what we fall into all the time. But statistics and analytics show that we put money into the pockets of people like this. You know, the same guy who had the naked women on the side of the bus going through the streets of Philadelphia, and a white man had to say, "Black women, you don't find a problem with this, Black women?" Oh, you guys don't remember that? Hold on, I got you. Let's see. Let's see if we can pull that up. This is your public image, Black America. This is your legacy if you're not careful. Let's look at this real quick. Look at this. Someone said, I saw your bus parked in the IKEA parking lot. I had to take a photo. Take a photo of what? What is this? What's that? What's this? What's this? What's the flames? Look at the black body in flames. Look at that. Look at this. Checkered board. You don't think you understand what's going on, checkered board? The black and the white, the duality, the Freemasonry, the Masons. And this is not a play. This is not a push on all Masons. Because I know there are Masons that actually want to actually do good from within. I understand that. But I also know that there is an understanding of where Black America must go, and where it must go is they want it to dissolve. This is what it looks like. This is your image. Let me see if I can get a close-up photo of this real quick. 1 second. Let's see if I can get a close-up photo. Oh, look at this one. It's embarrassing. Hold on, guys. Hold up, hold up. Let's see. I'm trying to get this close-up photo of this art piece. Let me see if I can save it. Maybe I can save it and then I can open it for y'all real quick. Hold on a second. Let's see. But this is your image. And then when the foreigner comes to this country, right? And they say, you guys are just like bitches and hoes. That's all y'all like. Yeah, that's what we see. That's what y'all like. Then you act up too. It's like you don't know what they're talking about. This is who we let speak for all of our culture. And even if for the Caribbean, oh, the Caribbean too. Don't think it stops in just America. All right, let's look at this real quick. Hold on, y'all. I found the close up of the actual art piece. Check this out. Oh, beautiful. What is this about? Let's check this out. Let's try to decode this. He got a tear in his eye. Oh, you're sad. Your Black women want their holes and then they're bending over. titties on a stripping pole. You got the checkerboard for the Freemasonry. Look at the two eyes on the boat. Is that your black star line? Is that your white star line? Are these the eyes that hide in the shadows of the waters? Right? Look at the invisible black bodies in the shadows, just cheering it on. And fire, the money, the cars, the bikes that you're not supposed to be on. That's why you got an X, because you were arrested for being on a bike. You knew you weren't supposed to be riding that bike in city limits. You knew that. You knew there were consequences for riding that bike, but you did it anyway because you don't care about the safety of others. But let's keep going. You got the what, four? You got to roll the dice. It's a lottery of life, right? Look at this. So you have already been setting this up. The palm trees. Is that the same palm trees that we saw over here? Let's see. 1 second, y'all. Let's see. Is that the same palm trees we were looking at over here? Let's check this out. Is that the same palm trees over here? The boats, water. Uh-huh. When I tell you that these people are all connected, and their goal was to disable Black America economically, to force you to leave. And there were a lot of Black faces that actually orchestrated this. It's going to start to make sense because I've asked people time and time again. I've been in these reparation conversations and I said, listen, Black America, you have land patents. A lot of you all have did military service. Your ancestors did military service in the 1800s, 1700s, and you were issued land patents. Why do I not hear y'all talk about these land patents in these conversations? You can go and reclaim your land, but you're talking about getting fiat that they are about to cancel. Are we not aware of the fact that the banks are going digital by the end of the year? PNC Bank, JP Morgan, all these companies are testing out digital currency as we speak. So what the hell is your fiat going to do? You have land patents, you have work to be done. But you don't want to do the work because you want to get up here and do this. This is what you want to do.
I appreciate you and thank you for having us today.
Make the best of it by reforging the link.
Yeah.
And leveraging our mutual strengths of each other for each other so that we can elevate the position of Black people in the world.
Yeah.
You want to sit in front of the man with the black suit on. See, while you play the black and the white game, right? You got on your plain white tee with just your slave chains around your neck, and you got this here Black leader for you in Africa that you're supposed to look up to. Though you are the creators of modern civilization, you are the ones that invented most of the inventions that make West Africa modernized today. Most of the inventions that the world used today were created right here by so-called Black African Americans, which also have a lot of roots in American Indians. But you sit at the feet of a nation you civilized, either directly or indirectly, and you say, help me. Why? Because you could not ride a dirt bike in the middle of the street when you knew that was against the law? It harms people's safety? And now you get a chance to speak for us because you're a perpetual fuck up sometimes. And we're all not perfect. So I'm not gonna sit here and I'm perfect and everybody else is perfect. But what I'm not gonna do is sit at the feet of anybody when I know my ancestors propelled a nation that everybody wants to mimic. They're using your inventions, your stoplight, your washing machines, your elevators, even as small as your clothes hangers, your ironing boards, all these great Black American inventions, and you sit at the feet of the people who want to take it from you. They want to take your story. They want to understand and they want to know, how did you come so how did you become what you were in America? How did you propel the United States to be the superpower that it is? Because without these so-called Black people and American Indians, there would be no first world nation called the United States of America. There would be no United States. There would barely be any colonies, any settlements. But this is what we get.
Here and over there in the Americas as well. It's a very important development for both of us. Yeah. I'm very keen on it, and we're doing a lot of talking around the world to make sure that there's a clear understanding on all our parts of how very, very, very important it is for our future that we connect and everything that is built around that to grow. When we have people with a major talent like you do, that helps, and that you come here and expose us to the world and expose yourself to the world in that way too. All those things are important building blocks, and we have to encourage it. And I'm happy that the results of this Year of Return program has made more and more and more and more people like you, our brothers, our kith and kin in the Americas, are finding their way here to rediscover their links, reestablish them as well. It's
All right. Rediscovering the links. So we have a American rapper Ludacris. He becomes a Gabonese citizen or Gabonese citizen. We also have right here Samuel Jackson as well. And let me say this, as somebody that has traveled and I've been to predominantly Black countries on paper. Um, I will not deny that for people who have not seen Black leadership, or they or have been told there is no such thing as a Black leadership, when you do go to these predominantly Black countries, right? I understand the feeling of feeling like I'm home. I understand the feeling of feeling like I want this. Because in America, everything is so mixed. Everybody gets a chance to have their face on the screen. But when you go to a lot of these predominantly Black countries, it's predominantly faces of people who are there, right? So I'm not obtuse to the feeling and the sensation that people get when they see, oh, it's just us, right? And it can look very chaotic from the outside to see that America has allowed so many different identities, and especially the white identity, to overshine the so-called Black and indigenous populations in America. I understand that. But I also understand you didn't take control of your narrative. When people were trying to get rid of the brewing power of the negative, degenerate energy and image that was brewing in the 70s from the pimp culture, the 80s and 90s coming into that rap culture. And where we are today, you said they weren't cool enough. Went so far to have Two Live Crew go to that goddamn Supreme Court Congress to go fight for their music to be played. We call it art and expression. But guess what? Art often imitates life, and life imitates art. So when your babies are participating in this behavior, you cannot be surprised. There's no amount of sheltering a child when their peers in the world, especially in this country, you're going to see it at some point or another. And you have to really have a strong arm on that child. But that's not the case. Because the reality of it is that it shouldn't exist anyway. It shouldn't exist, but it's here. And as you made millions of dollars polluting your streets, polluting your youth, millions and millions of dollars selling your soul, you now want to sit in front of these leaders looking like this. That's what you want to do. You sold your soul. You sold your soul. And now you're begging for a second chance from this guy. Where we go from here, y'all? A lot of people sell their souls, look for a quick fix, tell everybody else you in the same boat as me, convince people that they're in the same boat as them, and then say, well, let's all leave. Let's all go figure it out somewhere else. Why? So you can do it again? Because if you think that people have learned their lessons from being in America, you're sadly mistaken. You think that just because you move locations, what's innate in you, it ain't gonna go nowhere. If you didn't follow directions in America, you damn sure ain't gonna follow directions no matter where the fuck you go. It ain't got nothing to do with America. You just don't follow damn directions. You want to do what you want to do. It's just like people who live in like rural areas, right? And they be like, oh, I'm gonna go move to Dallas or Atlanta or New York, and they get to New York, Atlanta, and Dallas and do the same shit they was doing when they was in their rural town. Do the same thing. It ain't changed nothing. So is it the area? Is it you? And why is it the people that push the most poison always talking about ready to run and go somewhere else? Maybe it's you. Maybe it's you. Maybe you lack the self discipline. It's you. I done told people to start holding that mirror up. Hold the mirror up sometimes. You want to ride dirt bikes. You didn't want to take, you got millions of dollars. You could have took those kids to it. You could have rent out an empty lot. You could have bought some land and built a little dirt bike park. I see people do that all the time. They build little skate parks. You could have did that, and that probably wouldn't even cost that much because all you're doing is putting cement and making little hills and little bumps and little places where you could jump off of and shit. Look, you could have did all that, but you wanted to ride through the streets because you want to impress the hood. And then you blamed everybody else for your mistakes and your misfortune. And say, well, I didn't know what I was doing. You know, in America, I'm getting arrested because you don't know how to act. It's not negating that police are corrupt. Then I'm not negating that they're corrupt. I'm not negating that. But we not gonna act like we are not gonna act like some of y'all just want to do what you want to do without consequence. And then when you're in your consequence and you're paying your tax, now you want everybody else to pay it with you. All right, Black Starline. And why is this important? 400 million people of color around the globe to the continent of Africa. 400 million people around the globe to Africa. The Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Societies League. in 1914, the Black Starline in 1918. It says the FBI, who relentlessly investigated Garvey as the foremost black agitator of his day, also seized and destroyed many papers of the UNIA. Really? Then why is it that the FBI was just so much on this guy's ass? They were just so much on this guy's behind. He just couldn't get nothing done, huh? It's all the white man's fault, right? Really? Okay. Let's see. The ones that we got pictures of you standing next to Walter Plecker, Mr. Garvey. Hmm? Why is it that we have pictures of you standing next to Walter Plecker? What's that about? Hmm? Why is it that you're a Knights Templar? I'm supposed to believe that you just a target. They was just targeting you, just so innocent. You ain't do nothing. You know how they say. Didn't do nothing. Right? Interesting. Pictures of you next to Walter Plecker. Walter Plecker was he was responsible for putting out a hit list on American Indians that they didn't want to classify as Negro down in the Virginia area. That's Walter Plecker. That's his legacy. Very proud eugenicist as well. But I see you ace little cooned up with Mr. Walter Plecker, Marcus Garvey, right? But the FBI was on you. So did what? So what were you trying to get protection? Is that what it was? Were you trying to get protection from your white supremacist buddies? Huh? Was that what it is? Is that the new narrative that we're going with now? You guys gotta start waking up. There's a fight for American land. And if you're not paying attention, black families have lost millions upon millions of acres of land since the 1900s, since the birth, since I would say the rebirth of Pan Africanism from the American Colonization Society to now what we call Pan Africans today. Let's check this out. And I brought this up plenty of times in rooms. If you guys have ever heard me speak before, you know that I talked about this a lot. This is reality. This is what it is. This is where we are. And your leaders are silent. You know why. You know why. Indigenous or not, you know why. They're silent. They're silent. They're silent that you lost 12 million acres over the past century. And even for the reparations case, they said, I spoke to a lot of reparations that said they don't even want land. These reparationists said, we want cash, fiat, that will not exist in the next couple of decades. Matter of fact, you could arguably say it won't exist in the next 2-3 years, but I'm going to give it a couple of decades for it to completely phase out. This is your reality. Ripped from their farms. 1 million black families ripped from their farms. You know why. 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 Born in 1745. And see, this is where the waters get muddy. We're going to tap into this in the next series, because I'm going to jump back into reparations. I'm going to jump back into reparations. But we're going to tap into why people like this run your reality. Why people like this are going to be the reasons why your history in this country will be just a tale, a myth, a folklore in the next century. And only those who will remember will be able to stand grand in that history. But very few remember it right now. So that lets you know that it will always be a mirage very soon. So this is ShanJor, the Brevador. I will see you on the next episode, part 3 of The Land Wealth, Your Identity, the Fight for You. You better protect yourself, protect your lineage, protect your neck. And we out.